Hello, and welcome to ReallyBigHat. My name is Jared, and this is D&D Builds, the show where we build D&D characters step by step. This episode is the Eldritch Blaster, a mage who uses the spell of the same name to glorious and devastating effect, and to the exclusion of just about everything else. So, let's get started. First off, to start out, we are going to be using optional class features, but no other additional sources. For our race, I have selected a fairy. Our creature type is Fey, which helps us out with certain spells that can only target humanoids. We are small. Our walking speed is 30 feet. We have the fairy magic feature, where we know the druid craft cantrip, and starting at 3rd level we can cast Fairy Fire, and at 5th level we can cast Enlarge Reduce. Once we cast these with the trait, we can't cast that spell again until a long rest, but we can also cast those spells using any spell slots we have of the appropriate level. We get to choose our spellcasting ability for these spells, and I have selected Charisma. And last but certainly not least, we have the Flight feature. Because of our wings, we have a flying speed equal to our walking speed. We can't use this flying speed if we're wearing medium or heavy armor. This Flight feature is the crux of why I have chosen Fairy. Being able to fly and launch ranged spell attacks at the same time is amazing, and it can just negate certain combat encounters against foes with no ranged weapons. And it's somewhat for that reason that a lot of DMs don't allow flying races at the table. If that's the case, you'll unfortunately have to pick something else. But if you are interested in this type of build but you don't want to play a fairy, you could also play something like an Aarakocra. Anything with flight is going to be a huge advantage over anything that does not have that feature. For our class, we are indeed starting out with Warlock. This is in order to get Eldritch Blast as soon as possible, and start buffing it up as soon as possible. As a first level Warlock with our optional features enabled, we get the additional Warlock spells feature here at 1st level. This adds a number of spells to our Warlock spell list that we can choose when leveling up. Some of them are pretty impressive. As a Warlock, we get proficiency in light armor, simple weapons, saving throws in wisdom and charisma, and we get to pick 2 skills from this list. I've gone with Arcana and Nature, but you can obviously choose whatever you want here. Pick whatever is going to suit your character the best. At 1st level, we also choose our otherworldly patron, and I have selected the Archfey. It's very in keeping with us being a fairy to have latched onto an Archfey as our patron. At 1st level, we also get Pact Magic, which is the Warlock's spellcasting. This allows us to cast spells. We learn 2 cantrips and 2 1st level spells at 1st level, and then we level up as a primary spellcaster with Charisma being our spell modifier. We also get an expanded spell list depending on our patron, and here is the spell list for the Archfey. There are a couple of pretty good spells on here, so do give them a look. At 1st level, as an Archfey Warlock, we also get the Fey Presence feature. Starting at 1st level, our patron bestows upon us the ability to project the beguiling and fearsome presence of the Fey. As an action, we can cause each creature in a 10-foot cube originating from us to make a Wisdom saving throw against our Warlock spell save DC. Creatures that fail their saving throws are all charmed or frightened by us, our choice, until the end of our next turn. Once we use this feature, we need to finish at least a short rest to use it again. For our spells known, we get 2 cantrips and 2 1st level spells. We are, of course, first and foremost, starting with Eldritch Blast. This is going to be our primary source of damage dealing throughout pretty much the entirety of the campaign, and it's already a good cantrip here at level 1. It deals 1d10 force damage to a target at a range of 120 feet, and it only gets better from here. For our other cantrip, Minor Illusion, I have selected it as it is one of my favorites, but it also pairs pretty well with Eldritch Blast, or any other ranged attack for that matter. One of the things you can do with Minor Illusion is create an object that is no larger than a 5-foot cube. If you create the image of a crate or a rock or anything that would be natural to the environment you're in that would blend in with the scenery, and then hide inside of it and start blasting your foes from there, they need to use an action to examine the image to determine that it's an illusion. So that wastes some of their action economy. Otherwise, they have to attack your square with disadvantage because they can't technically see you. So it's a good way to make a perch to fire from. It's a neat little trick. It's not going to stand up to high-level combat. You would need better illusions for that. But at low levels to mid-levels, it's an incredibly useful trick. Next up are our first level spells. First is Fairy Fire. We can cast this on a group of enemies to give us advantage against them, as long as we maintain our concentration. It also gives advantage to our party members attacking those same enemies. And this is just a good way to increase the accuracy of your Eldritch Blast if you're worried about that. Next up is Hex. We place a curse on a creature that we can see within range. Until the spell ends, we deal an extra 1d6 necrotic damage to the target whenever we hit it with an attack. We also choose one ability when we cast a spell, and the target has disadvantage on ability checks, not saving throws, made with the chosen ability. This will increase the damage we do over time with our Eldritch Blast pretty significantly at early levels. Next up are our ability scores. Firstly, from our race, we are increasing our Constitution by 1 and our Charisma by 2. We'll be leaving our Strength at 8. We'll be bringing Dexterity up to 14, Constitution up to 15 for a total of 16. Intelligence and Wisdom we're leaving at 10, and Charisma we're bringing up to a 14 for a total of 16. Next up is our background. This is, of course, completely up to you. Pick whatever you feel suits your character the best. I've gone with Criminal/Spy, gets you Deception and Stealth, and Thieves' Tools. For our starting equipment, I have selected the Light Crossbow and 20 bolts, just in case we're a little bit out of range for Eldritch Blast, or we get silenced or something. It's a rare occasion, but it's always good to have a backup. I've picked up a components pouch, a Dungeoneer's pack, leather armor, a light hammer, and 2 daggers, and from my background I'm getting a crowbar, a set of dark clothing, and a pouch containing 15 gold. So, let's go ahead and take a look at our character sheet here at level 1. We have 11 hit points, 13 armor class with our leather armor equipped, which allows us to use our walking speed of 30 feet and our flying speed of 30 feet, since we're not wearing medium or heavy armor. We also have proficiency in 4 skills, Wisdom and Charisma saving throws, light armor, simple weapons, playing card set, Thieves' Tools, common, and Sylvan. At level 2, we are going to take level 2 of Warlock and get access to our Eldritch Invocations. For these, we are going to pick Agonizing Blast, where we can add our Charisma modifier to the damage of our Eldritch Blast, and Eldritch Spear, which increases the range of Eldritch Blast to 300 feet. For level 3, we are going to branch out into Sorcerer, and we are actually going to take the Shadow Magic Sorceress Origin. Now, some of you may find this a little lore-breaking to be a fey creature with a Shadowfell ancestry, but I always say, play the character you want to play, and I want to play a Shadow Magic Sorcerer with this character, and it may or may not be because we also get Dark Vision with a range of 120 feet, which makes up for our current lack of Dark Vision. Who can say? As a first level Shadow Sorcerer, we also get Strength of the Grave, where our existence in a twilight state between life and death makes us difficult to defeat. When damage reduces us to 0 hit points, we can make a Charisma saving throw with a DC being equal to 5 plus the damage taken, and on a success, we instead drop to 1 hit point. Can't use this feature if we are reduced to 0 hit points by radiant damage or by a critical hit, and after the saving throw succeeds, we can't use this feature again until we finish a long rest. For our spells as a first level sorcerer, we get 4 cantrips and 2 first level spells. For our cantrips, I've taken Friends, Mage Hand, Message, and Mending. This is for utility, obviously. You know, all very useful cantrips when the situation demands. For our first level spells, I have taken Silent Image. This is basically an upgraded version of Minor Illusion, so use it as such. And I have also taken Thunderwave. This is a good get-out-of-jail-free card. If enemies have closed into melee, you can maneuver yourself around them and then push them 10 feet away from you and fly away. At level 2 of Sorcerer, we get Font of Magic. It gives us 2 sorcery points, and the ability to trade in those 2 sorcery points for a first level spell slot. That's basically all we can do with them here at level 2, but we will have more options moving forward. At level 2 of Sorcerer, we also get another first level spell, and I have picked up Absorb Elements. It's just a nifty little defensive option if you take elemental damage. At level 3 of Sorcerer, we get access to Meta Magic, which allows us to use our sorcery points for different meta magic options. I have selected Distance Spell, which when we cast a spell that has a range of 5 feet or greater, we can spend 1 sorcery point to double the range of that spell. So we can take our 300-foot Eldritch Blast and make it a 600-foot Eldritch Blast. And we also get Quicken Spell. When we cast a spell that has a casting time of 1 action, like Eldritch Blast, we can spend 2 sorcery points to change the casting time to 1 bonus action. What that allows us to do is cast Eldritch Blast as an action and a bonus action in the same turn. And here at level 5, Eldritch Blast now has 2 beams. So that means at this level, if we spend 2 sorcery points, we can make 4 Eldritch Blast attacks. Pretty good. At level 3 of Sorcerer, we also learn 1 second level spell, and I have picked up Invisibility, because invisibility is just really useful. And the only thing better than invisibility is invisibility, and you can also fly. So yeah, there's that. Chugging right along, at level 4 of Sorcerer, we get an ability score improvement, and I'm going to use that to increase our charisma. At level 4, we also get access to another cantrip and another second level spell. For the cantrip, I'm going with Prestidigitation. And for the second level spell, I'm going with Misty Step. Being able to teleport as well as fly all in the same turn is pretty OP. At 5th level of Sorcerer, there is an optional class feature that we can get, Magical Guidance. We can tap into our inner wellspring of magic to try and conjure success from failure. When we make an ability check that fails, we can spend 1 sorcery point to re-roll the d20, and we must use the new roll, potentially turning the failure into success. At level 5 of Sorcerer, we also get access to 3rd level spells. There are a number of good spells here to choose from, but the first one I'm going to pick up is Hypnotic Pattern. It's a really good crowd control spell that can leave your enemies ripe for the picking. At level 6 of Shadow Sorcerer, we pick up a pretty nifty feature in Hound of Ill Omen. We gain the ability to call forth a howling creature of darkness to harass our foes. As a bonus action, we can spend 3 sorcery points to magically summon a Hound of Ill Omen to target 1 creature we can see within 120 feet of us. The Hound uses the Direwolf statistics with the following changes. The Hound's size is medium, not large, and it counts as a monstrosity and not a beast. It appears with a number of temporary hit points equal to half of our Sorcerer level. It can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. It takes 5 force damage if it ends its turn inside an object. At the start of its turn, the Hound automatically knows its target's location. If the target was hidden, it is no longer hidden from the Hound. The Hound appears in an unoccupied space of our choice within 30 feet of its target. We roll initiative for it, and on its turn it can only move towards its target by the most direct route, and it uses its action only to attack its target. The Hound can make opportunity attacks, but only against its target. Additionally, while the Hound is within 5 feet of the target, that target has disadvantage on saving throws against any spell we cast. The Hound then disappears if it is reduced to 0 hit points, if its target is reduced to 0 hit points, or after 5 minutes. At 6th level, we also learn another 3rd level spell, and I have selected Slow. It's another good debilitating spell, with the added bonus of being able to choose its targets, so you can cast it in a range where your allies are, and cast it around them, only selecting your enemies for the effect. At level 7 of Sorcerer, we get access to 4th level spells, and for that, I have selected Greater Invisibility. It's like Invisibility, but greater. It is concentration for up to a minute, and you or a creature you touch becomes invisible until the spell ends. Attacking does not break concentration, nor does it drop your invisibility. So you can fly around while invisible and shooting Eldritch Blasts for up to a minute. Not bad. At level 8 of Sorcerer, we get another ability score improvement, and I'm going to use that to cap off our charisma score. At level 8, we also get another 4th level spell, and it's hard not to pick up Polymorph when you see it on your spell list. You can turn your allies into a T-Rex, or your enemies into a chicken, and everything in between. It's one of the best spells in the game, if not the best. For character level 11, I'm going to make a move that's a little bit out of left field and start taking a couple of fighter levels. It's also important to remember that at level 11, your Eldritch Blast improves to 3 beams, so have fun with that. Anyway, as a newly minted fighter, we get proficiency with light armor, medium armor, and shields. The medium armor we are not going to be using, but we could technically equip a shield to get some extra AC out of that. We also get proficiency with simple and martial weapons. That also doesn't really help us since Eldritch Blast is our main form of damage, and there's no martial weapon we would really want to wield. But, hey, it's there. You never know when it might come in handy. We also get a fighting style. I've picked up defense since we are wearing light armor, and we can just pop a +1 bonus to our AC. It's a nice, quick, clean bonus that is hard to turn down. And none of the other fighting styles really spoke to me for a primary spellcaster. We also get the second wind feature. We can use a bonus action to regain hit points equal to 1d10 plus our fighter level. Once we use this feature, we must finish a short rest before we can use it again. At level 2 of Fighter, and the reason we have taken this dip, is Action Surge. Starting at 2nd level, we can push ourselves beyond our normal limits for a moment. On our turn, we can take an additional action. That action can be used to cast, you guessed it, Eldritch Blast. And with it firing 3 beams now, if we cast it with our action, use Quicken Spell to cast it again with a bonus action, and then Action Surge for another action, we get 9 beams of Eldritch Blast. All of those are using Agonizing Blast, which are doing 5 more damage per hit. And if on a previous turn we had already set up Hex, that's another d6 for each of those as well. We are talking some extreme damage if we want to burst. It's very fun. Jumping back to level 9 of Sorcerer, we can start picking up 5th level spells, and first up is Animate Objects. As an action, we can choose up to 10 non-magical objects within range that aren't being worn or carried, and bring them to life. Different size objects count for more against the limit of 10 objects for the spell. Medium counts as 2, large counts as 4, huge counts as 8. And you can mix and match to bring as many of those to life in whatever permutation you so choose. Then as a bonus action, you can mentally command them to go attack your foes. They each have their own statistics, which are listed here. My favorite is to animate 10 tiny objects and have them fly around just winging and dinging. You get to make 10 attacks at a +8 to hit that each deal 1d4 plus 4 bludgeoning damage. And the damage can really rack up when you have a bunch of animated objects flying around. It does take your action to conjure them and a bonus action to command them, so you won't be able to Eldritch Blast on the turn that you animate objects unless you use an Action Surge. But still, this is a nice spell to Nova, and it can also be used utility-wise. Like, if there's a huge boulder in your way and you need to get through, you can just cast Animate Objects on it and have it roll itself out of the way. There's a lot of different uses for it, and it's a very fun spell. At level 10 of Sorcerer, we pick up another meta-magic option, and I have gone with Subtle Spell. It's not really an improvement to our Eldritch Blast in any meaningful way. I mean, it could be useful to cast Eldritch Blast without verbal or somatic components, but the use cases for that are fringe at best. One of the best use cases for this character, I would say, is actually with invisibility or greater invisibility. Being able to just poof, you're invisible without any verbal or somatic components can suddenly get you out of a lot of jams, especially if, like us, you can fly away. At level 10, we also get another cantrip and another 5th level spell. For the cantrip, I have gone with Mold Earth. And for the 5th level spell, I've gone with Summon Draconic Spirit, because why not summon a dragon? At level 11 of Sorcerer, we get access to 6th level spells, and I have decided to pick up Globe of Invulnerability. It's a useful defensive spell for if you wind up in a wizard duel of some sort. At level 12 of Sorcerer, we pick up an ability score improvement, and I'm going to use that to take the Spell Sniper feat. When we cast a spell that requires us to make an attack roll, the spell's range is doubled. Your ranged spell attacks ignore half cover and 3/4 cover. And we learn one cantrip that requires an attack roll. Just for giggles, I've selected Booming Blade. At level 13 of Sorcerer, we can pick up a 7th level spell, and I have decided to take Teleport, because we can already fly and turn invisible and teleport short range. Why not be able to teleport anywhere we want in the same plane of existence? There is, of course, a chance of failure, but At level 14 of Shadow Sorcerer, we get Shadow Walk for some more teleporting goodness. At level 14, we gain the ability to step from one shadow into another. When we are in dim light or darkness, as a bonus action, we can magically teleport up to 120 feet to an unoccupied space we can see that is also in dim light or darkness. At level 15 of Sorcerer, we get access to an 8th level spell, and I've decided to pick up Earthquake. Since we can fly, why not make the ground quake beneath us? And finally, at level 16 of Sorcerer, and our capstone for this build, we get an ability score improvement, and I'm going to use it to slightly bump up our Constitution score. This will increase our HP and give us slightly better concentration checks. So, now that we are at level 20, let's take a look at our build. We have 169 HP, which isn't terrible for a squishy mage. We've got a 16 armor class, assuming we didn't find any magical armor or shields along the way. We have our 4 beams of Eldritch Blast with a base range of 600 feet, plus 11 to hit, dealing 1d10 plus 5 damage. And we have a number of other spells. We've got so many cantrips. We've got a bunch of first level spells. And just a lot of these are going to be useful throughout our entire campaign. Greater Invisibility, Animate Objects, Summon Draconic Spirit, Globe of Invulnerability. We've got Teleport, Earthquake. We do also have access to Action Surge in order to take an additional action once per short rest. We have so many sorcery points. We've got 16, so we can quicken spells 8 times. That's not bad. So on a single turn, if we attack with Eldritch Blast, that's 4 beams, Action Surge for another 4, and then Quicken Spell for another 4, that's 12 Eldritch Blasts we can fire all at once. That is a lot of Eldritch Blasts. And it's going to do a lot of damage, especially if you've got something else helping you out, like a Hex Up, or if you're invisible at the time. There's a lot of fun tricks you can do to really increase the damage of our Eldritch Blast with this build. But yeah, that's the build. I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you guys next time. Later.